Hello and welcome to the show. Everybody seemed to enjoy this video, so I'm going to carry on this series for a little bit anyway until I run out of cars to do, pretty much. So we start today with a tank. This is by far the most popular suggestion for a vehicle to try and sort of throw down the mountain. Yes, I have to airlift it in. I don't know if it would climb the mountain or not. I just didn't have the time to faff about and try and figure out if it could. So yeah, helicoptering is the easiest way. Now there are some very big issues when it comes to trying to drive this tank down here. The first is simply controlling the damn thing. Now the stick that would normally control the camera for this controls the gun turret. That's not too bad if you're driving around and shooting and using it like a tank. However, when you turn the base of the tank, it doesn't turn the turret. So and the camera stays fixed, so it's very, very awkward. The other big problem that you will have seen already is that when the tank lifts up slightly off the ground, all friction vanishes as we wobble around, and I tried to save it and I can't manage to save it. Basically, this tank sort of feels like Farm Simulator made a tank, and this is how it would drive as it plummets off down the edge of the cliff. The minute it lifts like its track or one of its tracks off the ground, just physics goes completely out of the window and it slides around and there's absolutely no weight to it. It is terrible to drive down here. I drove it a little bit around. Oh, there's a bit of glitchy terrain and it's fallen off the road again. I drove it a little bit around. I tried to drive it from the airport to where my helicopter spawns. Or I chose to drive it from the airport to where my helicopter spawns. I shoot the ground in frustration, and on normal roads and everything it drives fine, it drives like a tank. The minute the tracks lift off the ground, it just gets unbelievably confused, and that's why you'll see a lot of times here that yeah, as it starts to kind of crash, things go very, very wrong. There we go, I can speak. Now the other thing that it does, as you'll have seen just then, is it has this habit of, as it's going along, I'm not sure if it's the way it interacts with bumps, but it will suddenly kind of almost crab to the left or to the right. I have no control over it as we plummet yet again. I think we managed to get it wedged. Yeah, it will... it's very, very hard to explain just from simply watching a video. I did get very lucky and I got a bit further this run, and again you'll see, whoopsie daisy, we've got a problem. We're upside down. Luckily, the tank cannot actually go on its roof. No matter what I did, it never goes up on its roof. But no, the big problem that I'm having, along with that, as you can see here, it's going on its nose, it's sliding all over the place, is this little shimmy. I don't know how that works, physics. Is this little shimmying from left to right that it does. There, you'll see it. It does this all the time. Again, there, it's really hard to drive with it, because you never quite know when the tank is suddenly going to move to the left. See there, it fell off the road, and I can't stop it from doing it. There is nothing you can do about it other than go very, very slowly over sort of the bumpy sections, and again we're on that nose skidding down here. Now I do complete the run on this attempt, however it was a very, very poor time. At one point I got it stuck, I had to spin it around, and as you saw I rolled it, so it wasn't a very impressive time. I'm now going to let off some fireworks, so I was going to go and try again. I wanted to get a half decent time for the time. I think this run was somewhere 3.5 minutes, because, well, yeah, there was a few incidences involved with this one. The real issue with this run was the first sort of section. You can see here I almost saved it. No, that's not gone wrong, not gone right, sorry, it's gone very wrong. Yeah, the first section is so tricky. The reason why that is the sort of opening path is very, very, very narrow. So when it does this kind of this really weird terrain going on with the tank as well, and I'm not sure what causes it. It happens a few times, and it happened a few times driving the thing over. Is very bizarre. Yeah, the first section is so tricky because it's very, very narrow, and if it does these little shimmies to the left or the right, or the tracks sort of go in the air, it can just slide off very, very easily. Down here it is a little bit wider, however it doesn't mean that there aren't issues. As I just tap the cliff a little bit, and then the friction has decided that or the lack of friction I should say has decided we're going to plummet off down the hill, and then we're not going to stop very well. To be fair to the tank, it does actually have remarkably good brakes, much better than the bus. When I did this run in the bus, I was on the brakes like almost the entire time. On this, it was a lot better. You could brake an awful lot later. Again, that's the thing. It just shimmies a tiny bit to the right, and it's gone off, and I cannot stop it. I can stop it from plummeting down the hill, like all the way down to the bottom, and now I am completely wedged. Nothing I can do from this position. But yeah, I just could not get through this first section, as again we go skidding down, and I managed to stop it. Mate, I don't know how I saved that. And then it decided, no, I don't want to stay on the road. I'm going to move slightly to the whatever direction. And there we go. It's fallen off the cliff again. I spent a lot of time on this first kind of bit of road. It's this bit being so narrow that was a real problem, and again exactly the same thing that I cannot stop it doing. I cannot stop the tank from taking those little movements, those sort of crabbing movements. I tried to get back on the on the route further down. Turns out that doesn't work. And then I think we set a speed record for a tank as it plummets down the side of the mountain. Ooh, just avoided the tree and then smacked myself into the ground, and the turret is spazzing out the entire time. It really cannot decide quite what to do. Anyway, I persisted. It took a while, although to be fair, a lot of the time in doing this is spent in the loading screens, reloading the blooming save at the top of the mountain. That gets quite boring after a while. That's actually one of the reasons why I saw a few people commented that I should try to do this live recorded. I won't, because it takes so long to keep reloading the game. Also, after 40 minutes, an hour, whatever of doing this, I will have got bored and won't be talking anywhere near as much as for the first 10 minutes. So that's why I'm doing this kind of pre-recorded. So this is the actual run. It wasn't a perfect start, as you saw. I may have had a little bit of a mistake. Managed to save it before I lost too much time. But yeah, I was having real issues. You can see how much the tank's moving about on its own. I have no control over it doing that sort of thing. Another thing with the tank, it doesn't have proper tank controls. You have to be going forward to steer, where you shouldn't. You should be able to turn a tank on the spot. You should be able to spin it around on a circle on the spot, or near enough on the spot, if you wanted to. Whereas on here, you can't. It's one of the big problems I have with the bulldozers as well. They're very awkward to drive. Because of that, the tank can take the hairpin route. It doesn't have any issues, unlike the bus. It does. If you are going forward, it has got remarkably good turning, and as I said, it has got very good brakes as well. I'm going to guess that it's because, well, tracks act differently to wheels, and yeah, this thing does stop very well. I can take this jump down here, as I don't have an issue getting the tank stopped or turned for this corner at the bottom. Yeah, if it didn't do this weird frictionless thing when it goes on its side, it would actually be a pretty damn good off-road vehicle. It's good fun when everything's still connected or touching the ground. And you see there, I was trying to avoid that jump so it doesn't get too carried away. Yeah, the minute the tracks are lifting off the ground, everything starts to go wrong, and it spends a lot of time kind of on its nose. There we go, sort of skidding down the road. Land very awkwardly off this jump. Again, losing a little bit of time, but the fact that I've got this far and not fallen off in the first kind of 10 feet, I was fairly happy with. And again, don't really want to take that big jump. While this thing has got good brakes, it's still not a very large stopping distance if you do go over the jump. And there's no real need to. It's fairly straightforward to avoid that. And then the finish line is in sight, and we can just about get the tank across it, and then we can't really get it stopped. But never mind, it doesn't matter. The tank has made it. The tank has made it all the way down the mountain. Yeah, it's really not a very good off-road vehicle. I love how the turret gets confused. That's quite amusing. It actually gets so confused it can throw the tank about as well when it's doing that sort of thing. Yeah, as an off-road vehicle, this thing is pretty damn useless. It's just the way it interacts with the terrain. When the tracks go in the air, it just can't deal with it. I don't know what would happen if you were driving it around a city. I mean, you're not going to spend as much time sort of bumping around and over things. But yeah, it's not the best vehicle in the world for sort of off-roading. Up next, in fact, the sensible vehicle we are going to be using is the Vapid Sandking XL. This is the same vehicle that I used for the race across the map sort of thing, which I think the first GTA challenge that I did. It has some visual upgrades on it. I can't remember, it might have armour, not entirely sure on that front, but it doesn't have any engine or brakes or suspension or any of that upgrades, so it is fairly standard. Now these kind of like side skirt box, whatever the hell those things are supposed to be, do kind of limit the ground clearance of this. However, ground clearance is not a massive factor when it comes to doing this. The hikers don't care that a monster truck, or as close to a monster truck as we can get, just drives past. Yeah, ground clearance isn't a huge problem around here. It's more kind of coping, not making mistakes, and trying to deal with the unforeseen bumps, shall we say. It's not that the car's going to bottom out around here. You can drive supercars and all that kind of thing around here fine. It's just the way it reacts to the bumps that you've got to be aware of and where the bumps are and all of that kind of thing as we come into the hairpins. I was very pleased with that for a first attempt through there. However, I may have done something very stupid and managed to kind of overshoot a little bit. Now, one of the downsides to this vehicle, while it is a very good off-road vehicle, as I bounce off a tree, yay for physics. Yeah, it's very good off-road, however, it is very, very long as well. It's not as long as a bus, no, it can get turned, but the length is rather problematic with that corner in particular, as you often whack the back of the truck trying to get it turned. And I may have done many rolls. I'm not sure if I should have counted. I did many rolls down there. That might have equaled the record thing that I did. Anyway, this thing is a very, very good off-road. I highly enjoyed driving this thing down here. I think this is a bit better off-road than the Rebel. There's a weird landing on this one. I'm not sure what caused it to kind of do a front flip when it landed. This was the second attempt I had with it as well. Almost got all the way to the bottom and then promptly fell off the road. One issue with this vehicle is it is only rear-wheel drive, as you can see here. It's spinning the rear wheels and not spinning the front. GTA cannot do anything other than rear-wheel drive in most cases. There are a couple of front-wheel drive cars. I think the Rebel and everything, that's all rear-wheel drive as well. It's very strange. And this thing, yeah, that's rear-wheel drive as well. I actually had some issues trying to get this up the mountain at one point. Anyway, while this was better to drive through the first sort of section, it didn't mean I didn't get things wrong. And I may have taken a little bit too much speed into the first corner and blowing myself up. I was having more luck though with this. I wasn't falling off so much at the first section. I was getting further at least before finding new places to make mistakes. Having seen where I fell off or I had a big crash over that jump, I was trying to take the sort of alternative route. That didn't work either. I found another kind of slight crest to go over that threw the truck off the road. May have overcooked it a little bit into the hairpin that time. Not quite as impressive as the first time I did it. However, I was very silly again, and whoopsie daisy, I overshot that one as well. That hairpin was surprisingly tricky in this car, and it's just to do with the length of this thing. It's a humongous truck. It's great fun to drive. I do like driving it around, but yeah, you have to take into consideration the extra length of this truck. I'm sorry, hikers, but I can't really do much about that. And then Karma very, very quickly threw me off the road, and then I got it stuck and couldn't get it back out because of rear-wheel driveness. Look at that. Massive truck and cannot get back up. Yeah, that does kind of bug me a little bit. I said I was having a little bit more luck down this first section. Well, that tended to mean that I was a little bit too confident and tried to take too much speed. And, well, that was a very big explosion for not a very big crash. Don't know how that ended up exploding on that rock. Anyway, I was persistent. I think it was about the same number of tries between this and the tank, because I wanted to get this run good, as I was fairly sure this car could be really, really quick. It is incredibly nice to drive down here. I may have already taken out one hiker. I'm not sure if I got both of them or not. Can't really do much about that. I'm sorry. But you were kind of in the way, and that was a completely blind corner. And I got a Coyote as well. Yeah, as for a downhill vehicle, for an off-road vehicle, this is probably one of my favourites. I do like the Rebel. I like being able to have all the customization on the Rebel, but I think this is a little bit better actually off-road. I may have overshot the first part of the hairpin again, never mind. The second part almost got so close to running. I thought I'd done it again then, but I'd managed to save it. I'm fairly sure both of the right-hand side wheels were off the road at one point. But never mind, another Coyote has been run over. All of the wildlife imaginable, and there's another one on this road at this point. So I do apologise for killing many thing. I wanted to try and aim down that section. However, this does have fairly decent brakes, and I couldn't quite get it turned in time, so I didn't really care. Just flew it over the jump. I got a hiker as well in all of that. Again, it was proving a little bit tricky going the other way for that, so I just take the jump. It always seems to land a bit awkwardly. I may have jumped a little bit of the corner then, Managed to get down here, avoiding all of the massive bumps. And around the second to last corner, run a little bit too wide, but don't really care about that. And there we go, it is across the line, and I missed the button to stop the the stopwatch, so that's why you see me losing a little bit of control while I was trying to find the stop button again. And there we go. The vapid Sandking has made its way down the hill. I love the front bumper being covered in blood. Yeah, this is by far one of my favourite off-road vehicles on here. It really is very, very good fun. So if you haven't, I'm sure you will have done. But if you haven't, I very highly recommend you grab one of these and go to the top of the mountain and mess around with it. Anyway, the times for the cars. The Sandking did a 1:38.41. That's very, very quick. That is deducted a second because it took me, I had to try and find the stop button because I missed it the first time I pressed it. Yeah, that's a very, very quick time though for the vapid Sandking. The tank, a 2:22. I'm not surprised that is a little bit awkward. It was terribly tricky to drive that thing down the mountain. To be fair, it is probably no slower than the bus. The bus, in case you missed the first episode, you'll see it has a star next to it. I had to take the jump and avoid the hairpin. So, I think that the tank is no slower than the bus downhill. But, God, the tank is terrible off-road. Anyway, that is it for this video, guys. So, thank you very much for watching. If you have suggestions for both silly and sensible cars you would like to see me try and drive down the side of the mountain, please do leave them, and I'm kind of worried about saying this in the comments section. I really hope that I'll be able to see all of them. I don't know if I will, because the comment section is uselessly broken, but that is a rant for another day. So yeah, I hopefully I'll be able to get the comments, I'll be able to see the cars that people suggest, and the most popular ones will be in next week's video. However, until next time, goodbye.